It would be remiss of me not to mention that some of your critics further to the left online, I saw were getting mad at you online, pointing out that you wrote, I just want to give you a chance to respond. A Guardian piece in April of 2020 headline, Starmer can succeed. He deserves our support. And the Stand First, the deck said, the new Labour leader is starting in unenviable circumstances, but anyone with progressive sympathies should swing fully behind him.
Yeah, I did write that. I didn't vote for him back in 2020. I voted for Rebecca Long-Bailey, the left candidate. But when he won, the position was, accept his victory in good faith. He had people who worked for Jeremy Corbyn working for him. Simon Fletcher, for example, who ran Jeremy's first leadership campaign, and various other people he inherited. He made all those pledges about public ownership and all the rest of it. So I said, I wrote in the piece, is if he stands by those pledges, because I said it'd be pretty disastrous if he politically disastrous if he reneges on them. It's funny after that, because I became a critic very quickly.
Yes.
And he used to text me, he used to literally text me with these extremely thin-skinned, not just about my Guardian columns, but about like tweets. I just thought to myself,
he was leader of the opposition at the time, reading your tweets, getting upset.
No offense to myself, but do you know what I mean? He said to me, he was like, once he was like, you are better than this. He's like, you're not my dad. Yeah, it was, but he is a thin-skinned man.
What did you respond? How did you respond to those tweets?
Well, I always defended my position. And for me, that this was obviously the end of it, is he said to me, I said, I think it was after, Jeremy Corbyn had been suspended and various other things were going on. And I said, my suspicion is actually that a lot of people around you just want to purge the left. And he said, no, Owen, I absolutely promise you, this is about taking on anti-Semitism. I don't see it as a left-right issue. I have absolutely no intention of purging the left. And obviously he launched the biggest assault on the Labour left in the history of the Labour Party. Yeah, that guy is, so my view on this, by the way, which is, I think does allow us to segue a bit. Do you not think? Because is I should have actually been far more critical or scrutinized him more when, as I said, I didn't vote for him, but when he became leader, I should have looked at warning signs a lot more, because there were a lot more warning signs I should have brought to the surface. That's what I did.
I wasn't there in 2020, so I can't talk about what warning signs were clear or not to you or to people on the left. Although I do disagree a little bit. I don't think I think scrutiny is good. Obviously, it's what we do for a living. It's what I've made my name doing. Asking tough questions, even people we agree with. But I do think there's a danger of getting so cynical on the left, and I see it, especially understandably after Gaza, where you just say a plague on all their houses, and you just say everyone's as bad as each other. And that leads you to a position where we have in the United States, where we have Donald Trump back for a second term. And you have someone like Andy Burnham now, who clearly is different to Keir Starmer in many ways. Is he different enough? We will discover very soon, and I want to hear your view on that. But there are people who are like, well, they're all the same. They're all the same. And I'm not sure that's healthy, because I think if you have a leader who might be potentially persuadable, pushable, someone who's susceptible to pressure, someone who's shown some kind of positive signs, then I think there's something that people on the left should try and, I'm not necessarily saying you get into bed with them, to use a horrible cliche, but, Zach Polanski made an interesting point on Sky the other night, which is depends which Andy Burnham turns up. There has been a good Burnham. There's also been a bad Burnham. Depends which one shows up. What do you make of that?
I'm not getting into bed with Andy Burnham. I just want to make that absolutely clear and put that on record, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that kind of is what makes me worry, actually, because I think a successful prime minister needs a clear vision and a clear sense of why they want to be prime minister, what they want to do to the country.
Agreed.
What journey do they want the country to go on? What's the destination?
We haven't seen that from Andy Burnham, clearly.
No, and I think he's a nice guy who wants to be liked. Not necessarily the best ingredient to be a good prime minister, by the way. Do you remember in Mean Girls, where the girl gets up and she says, I wish I could bake a cake filled with rainbows and smiles and everyone would eat and be happy. I sometimes worry Andy Burnham's a bit like that, which is well-intentioned. I don't think he's like Keir Starmer in the same way at all. But I don't necessarily think he's got a clear vision. And I think it depends on the people around him. And there's actually quite a lot of quite different people around him, which makes you concerned, I think, because this is why I get worried. I'd see what you think about this, because I worry because if you want to be a good progressive leader, not do all the things maybe you and I want to do, but just actually generally be in a progressive direction, you've got to have a really strong backbone. For the reasons you say, you're going to have an absolute hellfire rained on you. You've got Labour MPs for a start, a lot of Labour MPs who are awful right-wing ghouls. So number one, the Tories, reform screaming at you. You've got the markets, you've got big business, you've got the media. It's, if you want to do any significant break from the status quo, you've got to have a strong backbone.